I should have known something was wrong when my son invited me to Thanksgiving. Mark hadn't called me in 8 months. Not on my birthday, not on Mother's Day. The last time I'd heard his voice was at his father's funeral, and even then, he'd kept it brief. 3 sentences at the graveside, 5 at the reception, then nothing. So when his name appeared on my phone that Tuesday in November, I almost didn't answer. Mom. His voice sounded strange, too cheerful, like he was reading from a script. Rachel and I were talking, and we realized how long it's been. We want you to come to Thanksgiving. We rented this beautiful cabin in the Smokies. Just family. What do you say? I stood in my kitchen, holding a dish towel, watching the November rain streak down the window. The house felt too big, too quiet. It had been that way since Richard died 2 years ago. I don't know, Mark. That's very sudden. Come on, Mom, please. I know I haven't been around much. I want to fix that. Rachel's been on me about it too. She says family's important. Rachel. My daughter-in-law had never said 10 words to me that weren't absolutely necessary. At the funeral, she'd worn sunglasses inside and checked her phone during the eulogy. Let me think about it. Mom. His voice got softer, more real. I miss Dad too. I know I haven't handled it well, but I don't want to lose you too. Please, come for just 3 days. Wednesday to Friday. That's all I'm asking. That got me. The tremor in his voice when he mentioned Richard. Maybe grief had finally cracked through whatever wall he'd built. Maybe he really did want to reconnect. Okay, I said. I'll come. Great. That's great, Mom. I'll text you the address. Drive safe, okay? After he hung up, I stood there for a long time, still holding that dish towel, wondering why my stomach felt like I'd swallowed stones. The cabin was 2 hours north of Asheville, up a winding mountain road that made my old Honda groan with each switchback. When I finally pulled into the gravel driveway, I had to admit it was beautiful. Cedar logs, wrap-around porch, smoke curling from the chimney. The kind of place Richard and I always talked about renting but never did. Mark came out before I'd even turned off the engine. He looked thinner than I remembered. Older. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there at the funeral. Mom! He hugged me, and for a moment, I let myself believe this was real, that my son had come back to me. Rachel appeared in the doorway, wearing a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my car payment. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Eleanor. How wonderful to see you. She'd never called me Eleanor before. Always Mark's mom or nothing at all. Thank you for having me, Rachel. Of course. Your family. She said it like she was trying to convince herself. The cabin was even nicer inside. Vaulted ceilings, stone fireplace, windows overlooking the valley. Rachel gave me a tour, her voice bright and brittle, while Mark brought in my overnight bag. We put you in the guest room upstairs, Rachel said. It has the best view. You can see the whole valley from there. The room was lovely, too lovely. Fresh flowers on the dresser, expensive soaps in the attached bathroom, a basket of chocolates on the nightstand. This is too much, I said. Nonsense. Rachel's smile hadn't wavered. You deserve to be spoiled. That night, we had dinner around the farmhouse table. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Mark asked about my garden. Rachel asked about my volunteer work at the library. They laughed at my stories. They refilled my wine glass. It should have felt good. It should have felt like family. But I kept thinking about that basket of chocolates, the fresh flowers, the way Rachel's smile never changed, like it was painted on. I excused myself early, claiming the drive had tired me out. As I climbed the stairs, I heard their voices drop to murmurs. I told myself I was being paranoid, that grief had made me suspicious of kindness. I was wrong. I woke up thirsty around midnight. The cabin was dark and quiet. I got out of bed, intending to go downstairs for water, when I heard voices from the kitchen. Low, urgent. I froze at the top of the stairs. Tomorrow morning. That was Rachel. The trail on the East Ridge. There's a drop-off about 2 miles in. The rangers said people have fallen there before. I don't know if I can do this. Mark's voice cracked. We've been over this. Your father's medical bills wiped out most of the inheritance, but she still has the house, the life insurance payout, the investment accounts. We're talking about at least $2.5 million, Mark. She's my mother. She's 70 years old and alone. What kind of life is she living? You said yourself she barely leaves the house anymore. We'd be doing her a favor. Don't say that. Don't make it sound like what? Like we're planning a mercy killing? Rachel laughed, cold and sharp. We're not monsters, Mark. We're just people in a difficult situation. Your gambling debts aren't going away. My mother needs that surgery. We need this money. Silence. Then Mark's voice. So quiet, I almost missed it. How do we make it look like an accident? I told you, the hiking trail. I'll walk behind her. When we get to the narrow part, she'll slip. These things happen all the time in the mountains. What if someone sees? Who? It's Thanksgiving week. The trails are empty. And even if someone finds her quickly, she's an elderly woman who fell while hiking. No one's going to question it. I backed away from the stairs, my heart hammering so hard I thought they'd hear it. I made it to my room and closed the door with shaking hands. My own son. My only child. The boy I'd rocked to sleep, taught to ride a bike, put through college. He was going to let his wife kill me for money. I sat on the edge of the bed, my nightgown soaked with cold sweat. Part of me wanted to run, pack my bag and leave while they slept, drive back to Asheville and never look back. But another part of me, the part that had been a CPA for 40 years, the part that had balanced books and caught fraud and untangled financial messes, that part started thinking, if I ran now, they'd just try again. They'd wait a few months, then invite me somewhere else. Or they'd find another way. Once you've decided to kill someone for money, you don't just give up. No, running wasn't enough. I needed them to fail. And I needed them to know I knew. I pulled out my phone. My hands were still shaking, but my mind was clear. I had a plan. First, I called my lawyer, David Chen. It was after midnight, but David and I went back 30 years. He'd know this was important. Eleanor? What's wrong? I told him everything. The invitation, the conversation I'd overheard, what they were planning. Jesus Christ. David was quiet for a moment. Eleanor, you need to call the police right now. Not yet. I need you to do something first. Tomorrow morning, I need you to overnight new documents to me. Can you do that? What kind of documents? I told him. When I finished, he was quiet again. Eleanor, this is risky. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. But if it does, you have this recording. Make sure the police get it. I will. But please, be careful. Next, I called the Haywood County Sheriff's Department. I asked for the watch commander and explained that I had credible information about a planned murder. Mine. The deputy I spoke to tried to calm me down, probably thinking I was a paranoid old woman. But when I told him I'd overheard the specific plan, his tone changed. Ma'am, can you get somewhere safe right now? No. If I leave, they'll know I overheard them. They'll just try again later. I need you to catch them in the act. That's extremely dangerous. I'm 68 years old, deputy. My husband is dead. My son apparently wants me dead too. I'm not interested in safe anymore. I'm interested in justice. There was a long pause. Then, tell me exactly what they're planning. I told him about the hiking trail, the drop-off, the timing. The deputy said he'd have officers positioned along the trail before dawn. They'd be hidden. When Rachel made her move, they'd intervene. And ma'am? Keep your phone on. Keep it recording. We'll need evidence. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat in the chair by the window, watching the stars fade and the sky turn gray, thinking about Mark's baby laugh. The way he used to climb into my lap when he had nightmares. The proud look on his face when he graduated college. Where had that boy gone? When had he become someone who could discuss murdering his own mother like it was a business transaction? At 7, there was a knock on my door. Mom, you awake? Mark's voice. Cheerful again. Fake again. Just getting dressed. I'll be down in a minute. I put on my hiking clothes. Sturdy boots, warm jacket, hat. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, tired, exactly like someone who wouldn't survive a fall. Good. I slipped my phone into my jacket pocket, made sure it was recording, and went downstairs. Rachel had made breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh fruit. The smell should have made me hungry. Instead, it made me sick. I thought we could do that hike this morning, Rachel said brightly, before it gets too cold. The trail behind the cabin is supposed to be beautiful. That sounds wonderful, I said. Mark wouldn't meet my eyes. We set out at 8:30. Rachel led, talking constantly about the trees, the view, the fresh air. Mark walked in the middle, silent. I brought up the rear, my phone recording every word. The trail was steep and narrow, winding up the ridge. My legs ached. My breath came hard. I wasn't faking that part. I really was an old woman struggling to keep up. After about 2 miles, we reached a section where the trail narrowed to maybe 3 feet wide, with a steep drop-off to the right. 50 feet down, at least, rocky. The kind of fall that would kill you or wish it had. Rachel stopped and turned around. Her face had changed. The fake smile was gone. "This is far enough," she said. "Mark, go back down the trail. Wait for me at the cabin." "Rachel, I can't. Go. Now." He looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time all morning. I saw something in his face then. Not love, not anymore, but maybe regret. Maybe the faintest echo of the boy who used to be my son. Then he turned and walked away. Rachel waited until he was out of sight. Then she took a step toward me. "I'm sorry, Eleanor. I really am. But we need the money, and you're in the way." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not," she frowned. "What?" "I'm not in the way anymore, Rachel, because as of this morning, you're not getting a penny." I pulled out my phone, held it up so she could see it was recording. "I heard everything last night, the whole plan, and I called my lawyer at midnight. He filed emergency paperwork this morning. New will, new beneficiary. Everything goes to charity now. The house, the accounts, the insurance, all of it. St. Jude's Children's Hospital. They'll do more good with it than you ever would." Rachel's face went white, then red. Then, something worse than either. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Call David if you don't believe me. Chen and Associates. He's probably still at the FedEx office, making sure the documents get filed with the county clerk." She lunged at me. I stepped back, and she missed. Because I'd been expecting it. Because I'd planned for it. And because 4 sheriff's deputies stepped out from the trees behind me. "Rachel Foster, you're under arrest for attempted murder." She spun around, seeing the uniforms, the guns, the handcuffs. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. You set me up." "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just made sure you failed." They took her away. She was screaming about lawyers, about false arrest, about how this was entrapment. It didn't matter. They had my recording. They had 4 witnesses. She was done. We hiked back down the mountain in silence. Me and the deputies. Mark was waiting at the cabin, sitting on the porch steps with his head in his hands. When he saw the deputies, he started to cry. They arrested him too. Conspiracy to commit murder. He didn't fight it. He just looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, Mom." I didn't answer. I didn't have anything to say to him anymore. The trial took 6 months. Rachel got 15 years. Mark got 10, because he cooperated and because the prosecutor believed he'd been manipulated by his wife. Maybe he had been. Maybe he'd always been weak, and Rachel had just known how to exploit that. I didn't go to the sentencing. I sent David in my place. I didn't want to see my son in handcuffs. I didn't want to hear him apologize again. Some things can't be forgiven. Some betrayals cut too deep. I did change my will, though. For real this time. Half to St. Jude's, like I'd told Rachel. But the other half went into a trust for my grandson, Jake, Mark, and Rachel's boy. He's 12 now. None of this is his fault. The trust specifies he can't access the money until he's 25. And there's a condition. He has to write me a letter every year, telling me about his life, what he's learning, what he cares about, who he wants to become. I've gotten 3 letters so far. They're good letters, honest. He talks about how angry he is at his parents, how confused, how scared. He also talks about his friends, his teachers, the robotics club he joined. He talks about wanting to be better than his parents were, wanting to be someone who doesn't hurt people for money. I write back. I tell him stories about his grandfather, the good man his father used to be before something went wrong. I tell him that he's not defined by his parents' choices, that he can be whoever he wants to be. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not. But it's all I have left. People ask me sometimes if I'm angry. If I hate Mark and Rachel for what they tried to do. I don't. Anger is exhausting, and I'm too old to waste energy on people who don't deserve it. But I did learn something that Thanksgiving. I learned that you can survive almost anything if you're smart enough, careful enough, and willing to save yourself. I learned that family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up when it matters. And sometimes, the only person who shows up is you. I still live in the same house. I still volunteer at the library. I still tend my garden. But I'm different now. Harder, more careful. I don't trust easily anymore. Last week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It was Mark. He's up for parole in 3 years. He wants to see me. He says he's changed. He says prison gave him time to think about what he did, who he was, who he wants to be. He says he's sorry. Again, I haven't called back yet. I might not. Because here's the thing about second chances. You don't owe them to anyone. Not even your son. Especially not your son who tried to have you killed. Maybe someday I'll feel differently. Maybe someday I'll be able to look at him without seeing Rachel's face, hearing her voice in that cabin kitchen, without remembering the moment I realized my own child wanted me dead. But not today. Today, I'm just grateful I'm still here, still breathing, still tending my roses and reading my books and writing letters to a grandson who might turn out better than his parents did. That's enough. That has to be enough. The world doesn't owe me anything, and I don't owe it anything back. Except maybe this. The truth about what happened. A warning to other mothers who get unexpected invitations from children who've been silent too long. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust your instincts. Protect yourself. And remember that the person who saves you might have to be you. I learned that the hard way. Standing on a mountain trail with a woman who wanted to throw me off a cliff. I'm still standing. She's not. And some days, that feels like enough of a happy ending.